Have you ever noticed that when the prices of mangoes rise, we find fewer mangoes being purchased by people? And at the same time, when you have either a discount offered or maybe there is a decrease in the prices of mangoes, we find more people buying mangoes and or maybe the same person buying more amount of mangoes. So why do you think this happens? So today let us understand the fascinating principle behind this behavior or the human tendency, a very important fundamental economic principle, that is demand analysis, especially the law of demand. So this is Dr. Kusuma Kumari, Assistant Professor from the Faculty of Management Sciences, VNR JYOTHI Institute of Engineering and Technology. And today let us learn about demand analysis and the law of demand, which is one of the most fundamental economic principles. So we'll go ahead with the following contents. First of all, we'll understand what's the meaning of demand, and then coming to the law of demand, what is a law actually and how it operates, what are the core constituents, the assumptions of the law, and especially the exceptions to the law. So coming to meaning of the demand. Now, let me give you an example. Let me say that I like BMW car a lot. Now, maybe I do not have the money to purchase that car. So just feeling that I want that car is not enough to say that there would be a purchase there. So you can claim that there is a demand for a particular product only when you have enough number of consumers who are ready to purchase that product. So one of the essential requirement of that is there should be a desire on behalf of the consumer to purchase that particular product, first thing. And along with that also another major constant, which is called the willingness to purchase the product. So what is this willingness? Maybe I like that product, but I feel it is not worth spending so much. So let me give you one more example. Maybe I'm at a restaurant and then I find in the entire menu a lot of different pizzas. Where maybe there's a pizza at 800 rupees. I have maybe 1000 rupees with me. I'm willing to spend the 1000 rupees. And I want to eat the pizza that day. But then I would really actually think, do I have to spend 800 rupees on this pizza? So maybe I'll hesitate and think, no, it's better to go for another variant. Maybe it's not so expensive. I feel it's not worth it spending that much amount on a pizza and eating it, spending so much money, right? So I want it, I like it, and I also have the money. But I'm not ready to spend that money over it. I feel it's not worth that experience at that particular moment. So there is no willingness on my behalf. And at the same time, coming to the third aspect, ability to purchase. This is the affordability. Okay. So we have the desire, the need is there. And also I feel that it is worth it purchasing it. But I should also possess the money to purchase it. If I'm not able to afford it, I definitely would not buy it. So only when you have that desire on part of the buyer to buy it, the willingness to pay for it, and also the ability to pay that specific price for it, that is the affordability, I have the money with me. When all these three are there together, then only the consumer will be ready to purchase that particular product, and that is when in economics we can say there is a demand for that particular product. So the consumer is demanding that particular product. So in business, demand is a consumer's desire, willingness, and ability to purchase a specific good or service at a given price over a specific period of time. So at that particular price at which it is offered in the market at that time, the consumer should be ready to buy it, and also he should want it and he should have the money to purchase it. So during that particular duration, at a later time, maybe the situations would be different. So at a particular point of time, when we consider, when all these three features are met, we consider that there is demand for a particular product. Now, let us look into the next very important aspect, the major aspect of today. What is the law of demand? So just now we have seen that as there is an increase in the price, there was a decrease in the demand for the product. And as the price has decreased, there is an increase in the amount of product demanded by that particular consumer. So keeping in mind all this, with a lot of works done by several economic famous people in the field of economics, a lot of work has been done, and especially this law has been designed in the year 1890, where Sir Alfred Marshall has put forward this in his specific work, Principles of Economics, stating it as the law of demand. So, what does this law state? So, it states that ceteris paribus, this is basically a Latin word, a very simple small phrase. Ceteris paribus simply means that holding all others same. So, in this context, this means ceteris paribus means holding all other demand determining factors constant. So, while all the other demand determining factors remain same or constant, as there is a price increase, that is, as the price of a good increases, the quantity demanded of the good decreases, and vice versa. Means, as the price of a good decreases, there is an increase in the quantity demanded of the good. So, this is what has been put forward by Alfred Marshall, and which we call as the law of demand. Now, here we have used the specific phrase ceteris paribus, holding all other demand determining factors constant. So, what are all these demand determining factors? Let us have a small gist. They'll be discussed in detail with how they influence the law of demand in the next video. So, but now you're supposed to at least have awareness of what are all the other factors which can also affect demand of a particular product. So, the first one, as we have already seen, is the price of the product. When it increases, there is a decrease. When the price increases, there is a decrease in the amount of goods demanded. And next, income of the consumers. So, if the income of the consumers increases, they try to or tend to purchase more. If the income decreases, they tend to purchase less. Next, tastes and preferences. So, what actually they prefer at that point of time would influence how much of a particular product that would be demanded. Especially, for example, people would prefer ice creams a little lesser when the season is maybe very at a chilled temperature, and the same ice creams would be better preferred when it is maybe peak summertime. So the tastes and preferences of the same consumers who are in that same locality would change based on several reasons. So based on the tastes and preferences of the consumers. Next, price of related goods. If there is any other product which is or maybe can be used as a substitute for our product, then if the price of our product changes or the price of their product changes, they mutually impact one another. So, though the price of our product is constant, price of some other product which can be used instead of our product, if that decreases, people would tend to buy that substitute product and not purchase our product anymore. So, that would also influence the amount of goods which are demanded of a particular product. Then, expected prices of the future. If a particular consumer is expecting that the prices in the future would increase, he would tend to buy more today. And if he expects in future the prices would decrease, then he would stop purchasing today because he'll wait for the tomorrow when the price would be lesser. Then expected income, if he expects a change in the income later, either an increase or a decrease, that would also affect the amount of the particular product that he would purchase now. Then next, size of the population, the total number of people in that surrounding area would have an impact on how much of a product is bought. And the distribution of consumers. Though there is a huge population, but people who would be our customers, that specific market segment, if it is not there in that population, that would also have an impact on the quantity demanded. And coming to advertisement efforts. So here when we talk of advertisement efforts, if there is more promotion for that particular product, lot of advertisements through different media, then more people would be aware and the impact on the quantity demanded would be more. If there are no advertisement efforts, then obviously the awareness is lesser and maybe the amount of products purchased could become lesser. And any other factors here, we could actually include all other factors, like especially during the wartime. So the conditions are so typical that the quantity demanded of any particular product could vary drastically. It could either increase too much or decrease too much based on for what kind of a need it is actually required. So these are few different or almost all the very major determinants of demand. So which includes of course the price of the product. So all these have an impact on how much of a particular commodity a particular consumer would purchase at a particular point of time. So now going back to our law, holding all other demand determining factors constant means while holding these rest of the demand determining factors constant, and in such conditions, when the price of a good increases, the quantity demanded of the good decreases, and vice versa. This is what has been put forward as the law of demand by Sir Alfred Marshall in his, as I mentioned, his famous book, Principles of Economics. Now, let us see an operating example of this particular law of demand. So, let us consider this example. So, coming to price of apple, if it is 2 rupees, let us consider the condition of price of apple being 2 rupees. The quantity demanded, let us say the consumer is ready to purchase 6. Now, coming to the condition where price increases to 3 rupees, the consumer is not ready to purchase the same 6 which he purchased earlier at 2 rupees. So, he tries to decrease a little in the purchase. So, he purchases only 4. If the price of the apple is further increasing to 4 rupees, he will reduce his purchase to even more, that is less than 4. So, he is going to purchase only 3. Now, if the price further increases to 5 rupees, so the purchasing power of that particular consumer is actually going on decreasing because he is not ready to spend extra money over that, or also he feels it's not worth it purchasing the apple when the price is so high. So, he tends to decrease the amount of apples purchased, and if it's further increasing, he may even decrease it to 1. So, the same thing, if we try to represent it graphically, we obtain the demand curve, what is called the demand curve. So, let me just draw it and represent it to you. So, here we have the price of the product. This is price of the product represented by the letter P on the y-axis. On the x-axis, we are going to represent the quantity demanded of that particular product. So, this is represented by the letter Q. Now, just let us represent all these values on either axis. Okay. So, we have price on the y-axis and the quantity demanded on the x-axis. So, coming to price at 2 rupees per apple price, the purchase was 6. 6 apples were purchased. So, this is the purchasing we observe there. Then when the price of apple has increased to 3 rupees, the number of apples purchased has reduced to 4. So, at 3 rupees, the purchase was 4. Coming to the price rising to 4 rupees, the purchase has become 3. And at 5 rupees price, the purchase is 2. At 6 rupees, the purchase is 1. So, when you try to join all these points and obtain a curve, this is what is called the demand curve. So, this denotes what is happening to the demand of a particular product as there is a change in the price of that particular product. So, what do we observe? As the price is increasing, there is a gradual decrease in the amount of that particular product demanded. And as there is a decrease in the price, we observe as there is a drop in the price. So, if we represent here, an increase in the price results in a drop in the quantity demanded. A decrease in the price is going to result in a quantity demanded increase. So, there is an inverse proportionality. So this is how the law operates. And now let us look into the constituents of the entire law of demand and the graphical presentation. So what actually this puts forward? The inverse relationship, that is price and quantity demanded, move in opposite directions. So as we have just discussed. So you can see as the price is increasing from P1 to P2, there is a decrease in the quantity demanded from Q1 to Q2. So now coming to this phrase, ceteris paribus, which you are all now aware, it's a Latin phrase which simply means holding all others unchanged. The law relies on the assumption that other demand determining factors like consumer income or taste, preferences, and the price of related goods all remain unchanged. They're all maintained constant, and only price is the only factor which is being altered. Now, the features of this demand curve especially, it's graphically, it's represented by a negative or a downward slope because it's an inverse proportionality, with price plotted on the vertical axis, that is a y-axis, and quantity plotted on the horizontal axis or the x-axis. So this is how the law of demand can be explained. And what are the basic assumptions which are kept in mind while this law is discussed? So for this law to hold good, it is assumed that all the following are maintained. So what are all these assumptions? Let us look into. First thing is, there is no change in consumers' taste and preferences. So as the price is changing, the rest all are same. That is, first factor, consumers' taste and preferences do not change. Income should remain constant. Prices of other goods should not change. That is, the substitute products or all any other related goods prices do not change. Then there should be no substitute for that commodity, where immediately they can go in for that particular substitute. Such a substitute should not be available, or they're not going to look out for the substitute. Only this product is available. So if the price increases, how it would impact, or it decreases, how would it impact, because there is no substitute also for that. Then the commodity should not confer at any distinction. So that product which we are discussing about should not be related to any good of status. If it is something related to a good which gives a special social status in the society, or it's going to give them a prestigious value by purchasing that product, if the price increases also, the customer will be happy and he would be ready to purchase more. So that product which we are talking about should not be any such product which is related to adding a value to the social status, or maybe a particular product related to the prestige conditions of that particular consumer. So it should be a simple product. Then the demand for the commodity should be continuous. It should not be that only on that day there is a particular requirement of that commodity, and maybe another day there would not be a demand for that commodity. Then you cannot try to estimate what is the fluctuation because of the fluctuation in the prices. It should be that there is a uniformity in the consumption of that particular, or the requirement of that particular commodity. And then if the price fluctuates, what is the impact on the demand is what we are trying to measure. Then people should not expect any change in the price of the commodity. The people should not have an estimation that in future it will decrease or in future it will increase further. They should be only having information about what is the change in the price today or now. So in all these situations maintained well, whenever there is a price increase, it indicates a drop in the quantity demanded. And whenever there is a decrease in the price, it indicates an increase in the quantity demanded. So while all these are assumed to be followed intact. So the law of demand assumes that all these are observed. Now coming to few exceptions to the law of demand. So this is something very interesting actually. So let us see what all this is about. So far we have understood that increase in price, there is a decrease in quantity demanded. Decrease in price, there is an increase in quantity demanded. And we have this law very well stated, which is showing a clear case of inverse proportionality. But when we are talking about exceptions, what does this mean? Means these are different reasons for which the law of demand doesn't hold good. The law of demand is not going to be followed as such in any of these conditions. So let us see each one by one. So coming to this first one, given goods or given paradox. So these given goods are basically called, otherwise also called inferior goods. So what are these given goods? Let us understand. This actually has been observed or studied extensively by Robert Giffens. Robert Giffen, who was working on American labor families. He was studying continuously over these American labor families, and what he identified, he found that this set of people were actually having their staple food being bread. They were spending most of the money they had over the bread, to purchase the bread. They had very little money left over after purchasing bread, and that they were spending over meat. So their major food was bread, and along with that a little bit of meat. Now when the price of bread increased, according to the law of demand, the purchase of bread should decrease. That is, the demand for the bread should decrease. But what happened here, what he noticed, Robert Giffens noticed, is as the price of bread increased, demand for bread only has increased. So though the price of the bread increased, still the demand for bread was only observed to be increasing, and the demand for meat started dropping. So he tried to understand, dig deep into it, what is the reason behind all this. So what he found, he tried to study and analyze that when these people were spending money over the bread, that is their major food, and the price of bread has increased. So they, for whatever they need to actually feed themselves with every day, they needed extra money. So that extra money which was actually left out for them to purchase some meat, also they had to consume for purchasing that same bread. So after purchasing the required amount of bread, they had no further money, much money left with which they can actually purchase meat. So with that very little minimal which was left, it was not possible for them to purchase meat. So what they did, they have to eat something else, a little more. So that leftover money also they spent on purchasing the bread only to get little extra food for consumption. So what happened eventually, though the price of bread has increased, it was noticed that the demand for bread has increased instead of decreasing, and the demand for meat has actually dropped down because they had no money left to purchase the meat. So that's why these goods are actually called Giffen goods, because they have been studied and analyzed and put forward by Robert Giffens. So I hope you understood this point, because Giffen goods are basically inferior goods where though the price increases, the person who's actually purchasing those type of products would not have any additional amount left to purchase the leftover other kinds of products. So the same product purchase only would increase because the leftover little amount of money also he has no alternative but to spend on these inferior goods. So now coming to the second aspect, the exception to the law of demand, goods of status. So this is another parameter which doesn't allow our law of demand to hold good. So this is in case of all the precious products. Especially you can take examples like diamond, or maybe for that matter iPhones or any luxury bags. In all these cases, if the price of the product drops, people can start considering it no longer as a status symbol. They purchase it, most of them purchase that product because it is considered a status symbol, because it's very precious, it's a premium product and only they can afford. It's like a prestige symbol or a status symbol for them, so it's purchased in excess. But if this goods price starts dropping, they no longer consider it precious, so these people would not purchase it any further. So if there is a drop in the price, the demand for the product starts dropping. So this is an exceptional case in case of all precious goods. So such goods are called goods of status, or they are also called Veblen goods. They are also called Veblen goods. Now coming to the third one, ignorance. Now sometimes what happens, even no majority of us when we go out shopping, we find something very expensive. We feel, very simply we feel, okay, it's a premium product. We are ignorant of why the price of the particular product is a little higher. So this, because it's priced more higher, we feel it is a premium one and we tend to purchase because we are ignorant of the quality of it or the worth of it or whether it is okay to purchase that product at that particular price. So due to ignorance also, sometimes though the price is high, the person tends to purchase that particular product because of ignorance. Okay, now let us look into the fourth one, that is consumer expectations of the future prices. So as per our law, if the price increases, the demand for the good should decrease. Okay, today the price has increased. So you should stop purchasing that product, or maybe at least decrease the amount of purchase of that product. But if you understand that in future the prices are going to further increase, so what would our behavior be? Okay, today it is already high, but in future it is going to further increase. So at least today I buy it in better quantity because I don't have to spend the extra amount later. And the other way around, if you find the prices have decreased today, so automatic tendency, you're supposed to purchase more. So price decrease, the demand for the product should increase. But when you are expecting that in future the price is going to decrease further, you're not going to purchase today. You're going to wait for that future where the prices are going to still fall down, and then you're going to make the purchase. So if you have an expectation of the future prices to further increase or to further decrease, then though there is a price increase or there is a price decrease today, it is not going to affect the quantity demanded of that particular product, because you will be waiting for that future decrease or future increase. Okay. Next, coming to the next one, fear of shortage. So as per our law, if the price increases, the quantity demanded should drop. But if you have a fear that in future the product won't be available also, so you're not even going to have the product availability in the market if you want to spare and spend some extra money over it. So with that fear that it would not be available in future, though the price of that product has increased today, you are still going to be ready to purchase that product. So the law of demand doesn't hold good even in case where there is a fear of shortage in the future. Then coming to necessities. When that particular commodity is a basic necessity, whatever may happen to the price of that product, you have to survive, you have to consume, you had to purchase. So if it is a case of general necessities, then you cannot escape it, or you cannot maybe make a variation in the amount of that particular product or commodity that you purchase. So the law of demand doesn't hold good. So these are all clear cases where our law of demand, which we have discussed so far, that is when there is an increase in the price, there is a decrease in the quantity demanded of a commodity, or when there is a decrease in the price of a product, there is an increase in the quantity demanded of a particular commodity. This law doesn't hold good in the case of all these 6 major constraints. So today we have discussed clearly all the different aspects related to what is basically the meaning of demand in business economics basically, and also what is a law of demand and what are the assumptions underlying this law of demand, and especially what is the operation behind this entire law of demand and the special exceptions to the law of demand. I hope you have all understood what basically demand in business means and how it operates in real time. So this is something which we all observe very practically in our day-to-day life, and maybe now today you have understood how there is a law governing all this and how actually things are happening around in our regular lifestyles. So I hope you liked the video. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Like, share, comment, and subscribe VNR Digital Learning Resource YouTube channel.